Allah, 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 ما لنا مولى سوى الله. الله، 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 ما لنا مولى سوى الله.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
عسى الله
عسى الله
أن يجعل بينكم وبين الذين عاديتم منهم مودة والله قدير والله غفور رحيم. لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم أن تبروهم وتقسطوا إليهم إن الله يحب المقسطين. إنما ينهاكم الله عن الذين قاتلوكم في الدين وأخرجوكم من دياركم وظاهروا على إخراجكم أن تولوهم ومن يتولهم فأولئك هم الظالمون. صدق الله العظيم. Alhamdulillah, all praises for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most gracious, most merciful, infinite amount of blessings and peace upon the noble Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and upon his companions and upon those who follow the straight path.
Ameen.
Alhamdulillah, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the tawfiq to be here again. We're looking at Surah Mumtahinah, which is the 60th surah, and we're looking at 3 ayats today, ayah 7, 8, and 9. So before we begin, before I tell you about these three verses are connected to the previous 6 verses, the ones we covered last time. So we have to quickly remind ourselves what was the last verses. They were in regards to giving deep love to the non-Muslims, which is called muwalat. There's not some of these Arabic terms, they don't have really a good translation. Even deep love may not be a very good translation. Yeah, muwalat means, excessive love, deep love, where you take the other party as a role model, where you look up to them, where you take the religion off of them. So that status, obviously, we do not give to a non-Muslim. So it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we mentioned this at the end of the lecture. Today, we'll talk about what kind of relationships you can have with them. So last time it was what you cannot have with them. And I gave some details at the end, and I'll give that detail again. So basically, human beings are placed in category A, B, and C. A is Muslims, right? B is non-Muslims, and you put all your other faiths there. Christians, Jews, atheists, they're all in B, category B. The only thing you can't do with them is what the Quran says here and many places and elsewhere, muwalat. Say the Arabic word, what is it? Muwalat. That's the only thing that's prohibited. Don't give non-Muslims muwalat. Muwalat, as we're roughly translating as deep love. Or we can call it, in other words, best friend. Or a person who you look up to, who you admire, who you take as a role model. You just can't give them that place. That's haram at any level, personally, collectively, at any level. That's what's prohibited in the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most wise. Anything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us is so full of wisdom. And as you will see today, what is the wisdom of that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us how to have a relationship with the non. Now, with the non-Muslims, you can't do other things. You can be kind to them. You can join them in relief efforts. You can do monetary transactions. You go on a business venture with a Christian, with a Jew. You could have contracts. Muslims uphold contracts with Muslims similar to how they uphold with non-Muslims. If we don't make a different distinction, that a contract with Muslims we uphold more, a promise to a Muslim is more, a promise to a non-Muslim is weak, is equivalent, exactly equivalent. So the only thing that we're not allowed with them is what? In terms of relationship, is muwalat. Okay, that deep love. But then there's another category called category C. So you put those non-Muslims who are worse kuffar, who try to hijack our identities, who try to take the Muslim identities and throw the Muslim community out of their own religion. For example, Qadianiyah, they like to be called so-called Ahmadiyya, but in reality their name is, they come from a town of Qadianiyah. We prefer to call them that. They don't we prefer to call them Ahmadiyya, because that title does not suit them. So they will be placed in category C. The reason is they're kuffar, obviously, but they are of zindiq kuffar. They are of that level where they're not declaring themselves as non-Muslims. They're declaring themselves as actually Muslims. That me and you are not. We're fakes. Understand? They're throwing us out of our own house. So Islam, obviously, is a matter of dignity. So Islam has ghairah. It put all the other non-Muslims in category B, but the Qadiani, they placed them in category C. So in category C, then all those things that we said you were allowed to do with the non-Muslims, the kindness, the relief effort, the business ventures together, all that's not going to be allowed with the Qadianis. We have our policy with them is much more stringent. So obviously, muwalat with the Qadianis, absolutely not. Even the other ones are all the other things that I mentioned, kindness, the business venture, they're all not going to be allowed. Boycott, not going to be allowed.
Not your business contract with a
No. It's not going to be allowed with them. The only time that you can, any of these, the ones that we can with normal non-Muslims, if you do it with the intention of da'wah, if you know that how to give da'wah, and not every Muslim knows. It doesn't take too long to know, by the way. It's a small course you take, and you'll know how to give da'wah to them. If you're that type of person who understands them, then you may do the other activities with them, like how you do with non-Muslims. Be kind to them, do a little dealing with them. Just if with the niyyah to bring them back. On a normal level, it's prohibited. With category C, is prohibited. Same monetary transaction that you're allowed with a Christian, but you won't be allowed with a Qadiani or anyone who's like them. Okay, we don't need to mention any names, but let's just say any other group that tries to claim to be Muslim and taking our identity and throwing us out, throwing us under the bus, throwing the mainstream Muslims under the bus and trying to take our spot. They're placed in category C, and neither muwalat is allowed with them, neither muwasat is allowed with them, neither monetary transaction. You get it? Higher rules apply to them. And those kuffar are called zindiq kuffar. Normal kuffar are just called kuffar. The ones who are of that category, who try to hijack our religion, we put them in category of zindiq kuffar. Okay? So that is the reality. And then today's verses is going to be about, that last verses were about how you don't do muwalat. So today's verse is about what can you do, inshallah, which we've already elaborated, but you'll see as the verses come. Now, remember, Sahaba Ikram, when people revert to Islam, this muwalat, it really affects them a lot. Those of us who are privileged to be Muslims all our life, maybe we can't feel it, but a revert feels this. Sahaba felt this. Because they had relationships. They had love, they had friends, they had cousins, they had all that. When they became Muslim, that all those relationships they had to break for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not break, just bring it down a notch. Right? Because they're non-Muslims, just bring them down a notch. From that deep friendship to an acquaintance level. Bring them down a notch, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes first. These people come second. Obviously, we have kindness to them, we can give them relief, we can do all that for them. So it was a great test, and obviously Sahaba Ikram passed all their tests, right? They had such strong faith, and they would overcome. And our history books have different stories. So as Muslims, we have husnul akhlaq, we have beautiful character with all human beings, beautiful character. And even with category C disbelievers, we'll have beautiful akhlaq, but then over there we'll have to have, if you're a knowledgeable Muslim, then you can. And you can have further steps you can take with the category C, with the intention of da'wah. Muslims even have kindness towards animals. We have kindness towards the environment. We have kindness towards all this, the creation of Allah. The hadith mentioned, the more beneficial you are to the creation of Allah, the more you're loved by Allah, because everything is a creation of Allah. And when you're more gentle, kind with the creation of Allah, the more Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you. Also, Islam is judged by akhlaq. You know how you present your Islam as a da'wah? It's really not our prayers that's going to impress anyone, because all religions have their rituals. Really, it's the character. It's about how your akhlaq is. It's going to win them over. Like you stick up with justice to this level. You live by your contracts to this level. You uphold your promise to this level. If that aspect, when the non-Muslim sees that, that's going to tell them this is the true religion. That's why when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, remember when he wanted to convey the message, finally? Remember when he got on that mountain and he called all the people to come to the mountain, remember? Where Abu Lahab said, oh, did you just call us during work hours to the mountain just to tell us this? Remember, he conveys like, I am a First thing he did is he presented his character. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you remember the story in the Seerah, remember? He called everybody out, remember? He shouted one time, but he was going to declare that he's a prophet. He's going to just share it with them. First it was secret. She was going to share it. And then he said, and he first told them, had you all know me? He presented his character, not his worship. His worship was when he used to go into the cave. He presented his character. And everybody was like, yeah, we know you. You're al-amin. You're sadiq. You're the truthful and just true. Truthful and trustworthy. You're the truthful and trustworthy. He's like, well, then I tell you, if you know me from childhood as a truthful, I'm telling you now that I am a prophet of Allah. Right? And what's coming in front of you is Judgment Day and Jahannam's test that you're in, and you have to accept me as a prophet. Okay, so what did he present? His character. So you and I have to remember that in our dealings with people, even with your Muslims, not with every human being, you're gonna impress them of your Islam by your akhlaq, by your character. So be very mindful of that. How you're dealing with people. Good times, bad times, super happy times, sad times. Do things according to Sharia. Do things according to Islamic law, and you'll see that how magical it works. That people actually love Islam because of seeing your behavior like that. Understand? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us such. So the first verse reads, Allah asallahu an yaj'ala. It is hoped that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring about love between you and those of them with whom you have enmity. Asallahu, everyone sees it? Asallahu an yaj'ala bainakum. It is hoped that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make between you and those who have enmity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring about love. Wallahu qadir, and Allah is all powerful. Wallahu ghafur rahim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is most forgiving, most merciful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, oh mankind, stop running your logic. If I asked you to keep your relationships in a certain way, if you follow my advice, it'll be good for everyone. It'll be good for Muslims and non-Muslims. Like anytime whenever we follow Allah's way, you're gonna always find it's just the most beneficial thing to do for everyone. When we follow our own desires and do our own thing according to our own logic, that's where we fail. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us this thing, because right before that it says don't have muwalat. So somebody, a Muslim who doesn't have understanding, doesn't know these ayats, right? He might think, okay, maybe I'll have muwalat, maybe it'll be, I'll try to, impress the non-Muslims and, be like them, look up to them and not the Muslims. And maybe they'll get impressed by Islam because of that. I'll compromise my deen, I'll water down my deen, and then all the non-Muslims will really understand Islam after that. That's not going to help no one. It's not going to help you, neither it's going to help them. In fact, it'll create fasad in the earth. Because whenever you follow Allah's rule, it creates peace on the earth. When you follow your own rule, that's where things become disturbed. The only time you don't deal kindly with non-Muslims, one of the other times, is basically when they're harming Muslims. Like if there's a one non-Muslim group, category B, and they're harming Muslims, and at that time you show kindness to that non-Muslim group. Because I just got finished saying in category B you can be kind, right, to all non-Muslims. But if there's a non-Muslim who's attacking Muslims, then of course you don't support them and don't be on their side. If you do that, that's also haram. That's also part of that, because you've assisted in harming your own Muslim brothers and sisters. And then let's just say you follow this rule of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you have a good humanity with all non-Muslims, the ones who are not attacking you. Which non-Muslims in category B?
The ones that are
we can't have it with the Qadianis, right? Because they're out. If you're gonna have it only with them with da'wah, they're out. The rest of non-Muslims are left. With the non-Muslims, you're going to have kindness with all, except which one? The one who's attacking the Muslims. That's it. Other than that, you'll have no kindness with them. Doesn't that make logical sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala later on in the verse, it gives the reasoning. What's going to happen? This is such beauty is going to come about. Two gifts are going to achieve. You're going to achieve through it, following Allah's rule. Number one, they might just become Muslims. Because once they'll see your character, that you're kind to them. The number one is that they'll see your akhlaq and they'll just become Muslim. Or number two, if they have any enmity in their heart, maybe they just grew up with a bias, like, just hate Muslims. And when you show character to them, they'll say, you know what, I'm not going to hate them anymore. I mean, I don't want to become them, but I don't hate them anymore. They'll take you as a friend. And that's it. So it's a win-win situation. Either they become Muslim, either they become your friend. The enmity is gone. Understand? But if we don't do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, they start giving them deep love, then there's fasad on the earth, which the verse will say afterwards. Okay. So have we translated the first verse, right? Asallahu an yaj'ala bainakum. It is hoped that Allah subhanahu will place between you and those with enmity love. Also remember, a hadith comes to mind in regards to this verse. This verse and one hadith, they match. The meaning of this verse and another hadith match. The hadith is about that you need to have balance in your relationships. And that's a hadith, a general hadith. You apply that to everything in life. Whenever you hate and whenever you love, there needs to be balance. You can't go into extremes, even in love. Like, let's say you're loving someone, you can't just love overboard. Like, oh, you're so great, you're this, that, you're so good. You're loving overboard. The problem is that when that person disappoints you, it's going to be a great fall. Right? You love the person, you put them on such a high pedestal that as soon as that person disappoints you, now it's going to be a great fall. And similarly, hate. Like somebody did something wrong. A human beings, when we live together, we're going to mess up. We're going to say things to each other and stuff's going to happen. Yeah. So then if you start hating a close relative, a close person of yours, and you just start hating this person, that's, I can't stand this person, this, and you're taking it overboard. Then what happens? What if that person in life, you have to turn around and be his friend? Then now you're going to feel embarrassed at that point. That that's this guy, who I had all these feelings for, who I wouldn't forgive, who I said that. But look, now we have to do this mission together. Doesn't it feel embarrassing? So what Prophet ﷺ taught in a hadith, أحبب حبيبك هونا ما عسى أن يكون بغيظك يوما ما. It's a beautiful hadith. All hadiths are beautiful, mashallah. Which means, love your beloveds moderately. The hadith says, love your beloveds moderately. And that means any beloveds who you're allowed to have, have some love relationship. فَعَسَىٰ أَن يَكُونَ بِغَيْظِكَ يَوْمًا مَا. It may be that one day you'll get angry at them. Okay, so just take it easy with your love. Balance. And then also, وَبْغِزْ بِغَيْظِكَ هُونًا مَا. If you ever get angry at someone, easy. Take it easy with your anger. Have light anger. Realize that human beings make, if it's a human, humans make faults. Just hate you don't hate a human being, you always hate the act. And then it says, فَعَسَىٰ أَن يَكُونَ حَبِيبَكَ يَوْمًا مَا. That person you're hating, he may become your beloved one day. So if you take it easy on your hate today, then tomorrow when you start to like him and become his friends again, it'll be a bit more easier to deal with that situation. Okay? Let me give you another example. When you love someone, going overboard means like you're loving someone, all of a sudden you're starting to have a great relationship with this person, you start telling him all your secrets. Right? You're revealing all your secrets. You're taking this guy on a really high pedestal, and then tomorrow, if you guys don't get on the right term, now you're like, oh shoot, I told all my secrets to this person. Now he's on my bad side. So he knows everything that I've told him. So you don't need to do it like that. Take it easy. Okay, the one who we excessively love is who? Allah, primary love. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. Have excessive primary love toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then as an extension of him, because he asked us to love his creation, then some of that love comes down to our friends and family and to our country and some people around us. Okay, moving on to second verse. لا ينهاكم الله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't prohibit you. And الَّذِينَ لَمْ يُقَاتِلُكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ. From those who don't fight you in the religion, وَلَمْ يُخْرِجُوكُمْ مِنْ دِيَارِكُمْ, and who do not expel you from your homes, أَن تَبَرُّوهُمْ, that you help them, وَتُقْسِطُوا إِلَيْهِمْ, and be just to them. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُقْسِطِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves those who are just. Right? Muslims' level of justice is the highest. It's from the divine book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't just do justice just for Muslims, and for non-Muslims there's no justice. There's justice. So this verse is talking about those non-Muslims who don't harm Muslims. This is talking about them. So these are Muslims who don't harm Muslims. They don't kill, they don't do genocide against Muslims. They don't expel them from their homes. So what's the verse saying? Antabarruhum, be kind to them. Watuqs, be just. Lean kindness to them and be just, because there's no nuqsan, there's no harm you're getting from them. So these are the people who we show kindness to, and we live with them in peace throughout our lives. Okay. Then the last verse for today's dars. إنما ينهاكم الله عن الذين قاتلوكم في الدين. Verily, Allah prohibits you. Now, these are the people who you can have kindness to, the non-Muslims. الذين قاتلوكم في الدين. Those who fight you in your religion. Understand? Those who fight you just because you're Allah, you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And وَأَخْرَجُوكُم مِّن دِيَارِكُم. Those who expel you from your homes. Those non-Muslims who are going to expel you out of your home. I mean, doesn't it all just make logical sense?
Yeah.
If there's a non-Muslim who expelled you out of your home, why should I show any kindness, understand, or any support for them? That absolutely doesn't make any sense. وَظَاهَرُوا عَلَى إِخْرَاجِكُمْ أَن تَوَلَّوْهُم. And they help others against you. أَن تَوَلَّوْهُم. Allah Ta'ala prohibits you that you become muwalat with them. Understand? All of a sudden, there are people who expelled you from your home. They're instigating others to fight you. And all of a sudden, you're having muwalat towards them, deep love towards them. Allah's unacceptable, prohibited behavior. You did that, and this behavior of yours is causing fasad. And not only that you're doing something haram, but you're causing a mischief in the earth. Everybody's going to get in trouble. Islam will become weaker as a result. The non-Muslims will become more bolder in the negativity will go. Basically, there'll be fasad on the earth. وَمَن يَتَوَلَّهُمْ. And whoever will do muwalat with them, this group, the one who expels you, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ. Then they are from the wrong, from the zalimun, from those who are upon the wrong. So basically, non-Muslims are two types: the ones who harm Muslims and the one who. So in category B, you have those who harm Muslims and the ones who don't harm Muslims. So in terms of kindness, it will be towards the ones who don't harm Muslims. So these are the verses. These are 3 verses. These 3 verses are attached to the previous 6 verses. So 6 plus 3, 9 verses. They've covered about who you have relations and how and hopefully our topic is understood. Right? Inshallah. The 3 categories: A, Muslims; B, all the non-Muslims; and then C, Zindiq kuffar. Those kuffar who actually claim they're Muslims. And they throw us under the bus. That the real mainstream Muslims are not Muslims. Okay, so they're placed on a whole, they have a whole separate category. They're special in that way. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to do amal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the noor, the hikmah, and the barakat of these ayats in our hearts. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi subhanallah wa bihamdihi nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant.